So good day to one and all. I'm Dr. Rohit Gopinath, and I'll be taking various topics in general surgery for the undergraduates. So general surgery is a field which is extremely fascinating, a field which involves knowledge about all systems as well as a thorough knowledge about various basic anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and all fields as a matter of fact. Hence, it is very apt that we start off this series of talks on general surgery with a very basic topic, which is wound healing. As far as a surgeon is concerned, one of the most important aspects of surgery is wound healing. Without good wound healing, you don't get good results in surgery. So it is essential that we understand the basic mechanism of wound healing. So what are the factors which influence wound healing? What can go wrong with wound healing? And of course, what are the abnormalities that occur because of poor wound healing? With that regard, let us now start this topic. Now, it is very important as far as general surgery is concerned that we have a thorough understanding of the history behind the various topics. The history behind wound healing dates back to 2000 BC. It was the Sumerians who first documented management of wounds. They used a combination of both incantations as well as a poultice-like material, a paste-like material, you can say, to address wounds and to promote healing. The Egyptians were able to classify wounds into infected and non-infected. Ebers Papyrus was the first one who decided to apply a concoction, that's basically a mixture of honey, which was antiseptic, lint, which helped in creating a barrier, and grease. Greeks were the first to describe wounds and divide them into acute and chronic wounds. Galen of Pergamum was a Roman physician who used to handle wounds which were sustained by a lot of gladiators. So he found that creating a moist environment helped in the healing of wounds. Semmelweis was a very popular gynecologist, and his observation was that the incidence of puerperal sepsis was lower if students who were dealing in childbirth washed their hands after being in the anatomy halls or dissection halls. So he found that hand wash was a very effective means of antisepsis. Louis Pasteur was the one who introduced the concept of using antiseptic agents, and the first antiseptic agent he used was carbolic acid, commonly called phenol. So how he came to identify carbolic acid or phenol as a means of disinfection is quite interesting. He was collecting sewage water samples from different areas, and he found that the sewage water which was collected in areas where the industries poured out carbolic acid had lesser number of microorganisms when compared to other areas. So with this, he came to a conclusion that possibly carbolic acid is a disinfectant. What he did later on is that he used to disinfect all his dressing materials, all his instruments with carbolic acid or phenol, and he found that he was able to reduce the septic rate from almost 50% to 15%. Based on a talk which was given in a very famous auditorium, he inspired another person called Robert Wood Johnson. This Robert Wood Johnson worked hard for 10 years to create an absorbent dressing which was impregnated with iodoform. So basically it was antiseptic impregnated dressing, so which was extremely popular when he found it out. So it is enough to say that it is very much clear cut here that antisepsis, or our understanding of sepsis wound healing, has been progressively increasing over a period of time, right from the use of incantations to the incidence of tissue engineering, bioengineering, nanoparticles, etc. Now, so wound healing. So Hunter famously documented, injury alone has in all cases a tendency to produce disposition and the means to cure. That is, the body is able to cure any wound that it sustains. All it requires is support and time. So, what are the three phases in wound healing? So, wound healing basically has three phases. The first phase is hemostasis and inflammation. Second phase is proliferative phase. Third phase is maturation and remodeling. So, you can see in this bar diagram here that all these phases tends to overlap with each other. So, we don't have that a clear-cut criteria or a cutoff saying that, say, from 0 to 6 weeks you have inflammation, from 7 to 12 weeks you have proliferation, so on. It always overlaps. You see that the inflammatory phase overlaps with the proliferative phase. Similarly, the proliferative phase overlaps with the maturation phase, etc. So now we will discuss about each and every phase of wound healing in detail. So coming on to hemostasis and inflammation. So any wound is basically a disruption in tissue integrity. Whenever there is disruption in tissue integrity, you find that there will be disruption in the vessel integrity. Whenever vessel integrity is disrupted, you find that there will be bleeding. So what happens in injuries? When you have an injury, you find that suppose the skin and subcutaneous tissue is involved, the underlying extracellular matrix gets exposed. Once the extracellular matrix gets exposed, it acts as a potent stimulator for platelet aggregation. So platelet aggregation is initiated, and these aggregated platelets undergo activation, degranulation, and thus stimulate the coagulation cascade. So these mediators have a lot of function to them. So they help in not only initiating the process of inflammation, but also act as chemotactic agents to a large number of inflammatory cells.